This week on Oil and Gas Watch News, we're learning more about the risks of an upcoming dredging project on the Texas Gulf Coast that would benefit the oil industry after a scientist shared the results of her latest study on mercury contamination. Lavaca Bay is located on the Texas Gulf Coast between Houston and Corpus Christi. It's part of Matagorda Bay, where an oil export terminal is planning a major expansion that would benefit from dredging to allow larger oil tankers. But the bay also suffers from decades of pollution. In the 1960s and 70s, more than 1.2 million pounds of toxic mercury was released into the bay by aluminum company Alcoa, which operated an aluminum refinery nearby. At a community meeting last week, Jessica Dutton, a marine toxicologist with Texas State University, presented the results of her study where she sampled mercury in fish, shellfish, and sediment from Lavaca Bay.
So as part of the remediation effort, it was agreed that some of that mercury could just remain in the sediment. So the mercury that got released into the bay ended up contaminating, like I said, the water, also the sediment, and the fish and the shellfish that reside there.
In the contaminated area, Dutton found that 48% of red and black drum and 42% of hardhead catfish had levels of mercury that made them unsafe to eat. She also found mercury levels in the sediment up to nearly 10 times higher than the goal set by the EPA during its cleanup of the bay. Dutton's research comes as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the local Port of Calhoun County prepare to dredge Lavaca Bay to make more room for oil tankers and other vessels. At the port, the oil tankers fill up at the Seahawk Terminal, whose owner, Max Midstream, is planning a major expansion to ship more oil abroad. Dutton said that more studies are needed to avoid stirring up that mercury and allowing it to be released during the dredging project. Local fishermen are also concerned about how the dredging would change the habitat of the bay, where they rely on plentiful shrimp, oysters, crab, and fish to support their livelihood.
We have a lot of concern about the deepening and widening of the ship channel, introducing a lot higher level of salt water into this bay.
To learn more about the mercury study and the dredging project, visit news.oilandgaswatch.org.